Hi and welcome. Find a tall seat on some support, either a blanket or a pillow, some blocks, and feel a sense of grounding through your sits bones. Feel a broadening in the pelvis, in the flesh of the seat, and feel a sense of rooting and spreading. And from that foundation, gently invite some length through each of the bones of your spine, all the way up into the cranium, through the crown of your head. So you feel this buoyancy, this lightness between each bone, and this elevation, this sense of expansion through the body. And take a moment to close your eyes or allow your gaze to come down, your eyelids to sink to half mast. And allow the activity of the day, the thoughts, the shoulds, the to-do lists to just fall away from your body here as you come to this present moment here on your mat. And without changing anything, begin to notice your breath. Just observe the quality of the breath in this moment. Noticing the duration of your inhale and your exhale. Notice the sensation of the breath as it comes in through your nose and goes out through your nose. And just with curiosity, get a sense of where in your body you're feeling the breath. Where does it travel to most easily? And that might be in the rib cage, it might be in the chest, it might be into the pelvis or the belly. And there's really no wrong answer or right answer here. It's just a curiosity, a exploration of where you're at in this moment. So just notice. And drawing your attention to that space where your breath flows most easily. And giving that space your full attention, your full awareness. And see if you can elongate your inhale just a little bit longer. Fill that space just a little bit more. Invite a sense of expansiveness as you breathe in, and then a sense of relaxation and softening as you breathe out. And again, with each inhale, see if you can expand that sense of buoyancy, that sense of lightness, that sense of fullness of the breath, maybe beyond the boundaries of where it first felt natural. See if you can inspire the spaces around that expansive region to also inflate with breath. And continue working in this way, inviting that expansive quality with each inhale and relaxing with each exhale. And take the next moment on your inhale to float the arms out to a T. Keep length, space in the side ribs, the side body. As you exhale, fold your hands together at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Thumbs pressing into your sternum, sternum lifting into your thumbs, and connecting inwardly with your heart center, connecting with your true self, the part of you that knows exactly what it is that you need in this moment, and set your intention for today's practice. Could be something you've been working to cultivate in your yoga practice, in your life. And if nothing comes, I invite you to set the intention of gratitude, feeling grateful for each breath, for each movement, for each challenge. And when you feel like you've landed on an intention for today's practice, take a breath in and feel the energy of your intention fill every cell of your body from toe to the top of your head. And exhale, bow your head to your heart to seal your intention inside and trust that this gesture will keep it with you throughout practice today. Inhale, head comes level with the floor, chin level with the floor. Exhale, hands can come down to the sides. Inhale, just sweep your arms up and overhead, reach toward the sky, get as tall as you can, meet the palms. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale here at heart center. Exhale, send the fingertips forward, curl the chin toward the chest, press the hands into each other, round the spine, robin's breath here. Inhale, open your heart, spread your wings, draw your shoulders back and down, chest lifts. Exhale, curl back to where we just came from. Palms together, press the palms in toward each other as you inhale, hands back to heart center. Just a few more rounds here, and you might really exaggerate getting the spine involved or really strengthen through the arms, open the heart, feel like you're a little baby robin cracking out of your egg and shining your heart forward. Exhale, curling back in, and inhale to heart center, going at your own pace. One or two more here. Diving in, exploring movement. And we'll meet with hands at the heart. And exhale the hands to the floor. Inhale, float the left arm up and overhead. Maybe gaze up at the hand or catch the back of the head with the arm, the hand to support the neck. Inhale, spiral your sternum up toward the sky even more. Exhale, maybe bending this left elbow. Inhale, reaching overhead, just finding an openness in the left side body. Exploring movement if that feels good, or stillness if that serves you here. We'll inhale both arms up toward the sky, as tall and expansive as you can be. Notice the difference between right and left sides. And then exhale, hands to the floor. Next inhale sends the right arm up and overhead. Find a nice side bend here. Maybe playing with the position of the neck, the head, catching the back of the skull with the hand or keeping the arm lifted, reaching, arcing, maybe bending the elbow, maybe spiraling the sternum up toward the sky. The gaze can look up or down, just exploring here. It's not like a specific shape you're trying to achieve. It's more like an exploration of what feels like it serves your body in this moment. We'll inhale through center. And exhale, hands to the heart. Hands come down to the sides. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see me better. You might want to stay up on your blanket support as you step one foot at a time to the mat, and then bring your hands behind you here. Inhale, broaden and open the heart. And then exhale, allow the knees to fall to one side. Inhale through center. Again, exploration rather than seeking anything here. Just like, what does this feel like? What does it feel like if you keep the hips rooted onto the ground? And moving with breath, being slow, mindful, enjoying this sort of exploratory movement. Side to side, what does it feel like if you let one hip come off of the support that you're sitting on? Maybe beginning to incorporate some spinal movement, looking over one shoulder, the opposite shoulder to where the knees are going. And just moving with breath, exploring here. Great, and then coming back to center, step your feet a little bit closer to your body and find a position for the hands that can be weight bearing. So for some of us, that means coming onto fists is more comfortable. There's a little bit of a gentler alignment for the wrists. If you're on fists, you might have to take off a ring if you have one on. Some of us are happy with letting the fingertips look out to the sides or straight back, or toward the body. So you have a lot of options to play with here. As you inhale, open and broaden your chest. As you exhale, send your hips up toward the sky, so it's like a reverse tabletop position. Inhale, kiss the hips to the floor or your blanket. And then exhale, send the hips up toward the sky. And see how broad and open you can keep the chest here, the heart, pressing into the earth with the palms or the fists to broaden and open the chest. Inhale to lower down. Exhale to send the hips toward the sky. And a few more like this. You might decide to explore a different hand position option. The next time you lift, see if you can stay. So with hips lifted here, can you send your tailbone toward the knees and scoop your hips up even higher? Can you press into the floor to broaden your chest? And then here, some of us might like to keep the chin tucked toward the throat gently, or allow the neck to fall back. So doing what feels nourishing for your body. And then exhale, slowly lower down. We'll wrap the hands forward around the shins or the knees and let the head come toward the heart. You might rock side to side or explore whatever movement feels neutralizing here. Returning to your intention, to your breath. And then we'll find a new seated position where both knees come down into the left. Your right hip might come off of the floor a bit, and you might change the arrangement of your cushion or your blanket to support that. So here, the left foot is touching the top of the right knee, and then the right leg is bent back. We'll take the left hand to the floor and reach the right arm up and overhead. And then exhale, the right hand to the floor, left arm comes up and overhead. So again, not trying to fit into a specific movement, but exploring what happens as you reach one arm, then the other. What if you open the heart toward the sky for a few rounds, inhaling to lift, and exhaling to touch to the floor. And then what if you twist toward the direction you're reaching here, and increasing that spiral in the spine, down the legs, and just exploring movement here, enjoying this. And then slowly find a sense of completion. You might be really enjoying this and wanting to continue to sort of weave into this movement and out of it. And when you're ready, you'll just change the position of the legs so that this time the left leg comes back toward the hip, the right foot touches the left knee. And again here, reaching the left arm up and overhead, opening the heart. Exhaling to touch the ground, and then inhaling, reaching the opposite arm. So just exploring. What does it feel like if you really open the chest toward the sky versus if you twist and reach and deepen the spiral of the spine? It's nice to check in to see that you have that slight smile so that you're really honoring that this is playful. This is a way of just getting in touch with what feels good in the body. And we'll come back to that centered position, stepping one foot at a time again to the floor, and just revisiting, placing the hands back on the floor behind you and opening the heart, maybe rocking side to side, maybe allowing, if your body is calling for it, the knees to rock side to side. Then we'll come to hands and knees next. And I always like to have a blanket under my knees, just for longevity and happiness in the knees. I like to use this open fold of the blanket so that it's not too high. So coming onto hands and knees. And some of us really appreciate using blocks for the wrists if you have tender wrists. Just holding it in this way, or with tender wrists, you can also make fists instead. Another option is just to have the hands flat on the floor. And from here, just exploring cat-cow for a few rounds. Exhaling navel to spine as you arch the back up toward the sky. Inhale, scooping forward, shining your heart, drawing your shoulders away from the ears, maybe even leaning forward. So allow yourself to be a little bit more improvisational with your cat-cow today. So just see what it's like to do a side bend in cat-cow. Maybe coming onto the fingertips, exploring the other side. What if you come onto the toes? What if you make a sort of jump rope movement with the spine here? Always moving with breath. And let's widen the knees apart, bring the big toes to touch, and sink the hips back toward the heels in a Bhaktasana, but now reach the fingertips over toward the right. Inhale here, and then exhale, sink the heart, the forehead to touch the earth. A few breaths here. Breathe space into the left side body here. And feel how open and expansive the ribs can get. And invite some of that expansiveness to spread into the right side body as well. Using your breath to help you find space from the inside out. Inhale, coming back onto hands and knees. And just take a moment in stillness here in tabletop position and just notice the difference between the right and left sides of the body. Notice if the body is calling for a different movement. And we'll widen the knees, bring the toes to touch, sink the hips back on an exhale. Inhale, open and spread the chest, the collarbones. Exhale, walk the hands over, this time to the left. Inhale again to find that length and elongation, the space between the ribs before you sink down, heart toward the earth, forehead touching the floor or a blanket or a block, and exploring into the space that you can create with your breath in this position. Beginning on the right side, the right rib cage, feeling that expansion happen as you inhale, and a softness as you exhale. Seeing if you can invite that spaciousness to spread from the right side body to the left. And when you're ready, walk the hands through center and come to hands and knees. Tuck the toes under, bring the knees so that they're right underneath the hips. From here, with toes tucked under, press into the floor to bring the back heart a little bit closer toward the sky. Keep your neck neutral. And exhale, lift your knees just 1 inch from the ground. And see what happens to the body. Does the back extra arch here? Can you keep more of a neutral spine by sending your tailbone back and behind you, or tilting your pelvis in such a way that keeps your spine neutral? If this doesn't feel like too much of an adventure for you, you might play with crawling opposite arm, foot, opposite leg toward the front of your mat, trying to keep your knees just 1 or 2 inches from the mat, and then crawling backwards. How neutral can you keep your spine, your neck? Can you smile? Are you sweating yet? It's just a fun way to activate some of the core muscles and warm up pretty fast. Returning to your mat, your blanket, bring your big toes to touch, and rest in Bhaktasana or Balasana or any restful pose, any position that feels nourishing for your body and restful. Feel your heartbeat. And perhaps recall your intention from the start of practice. Perhaps it was gratitude or something else. And when you're ready, take your time. We'll meet again on hands and knees and have the blocks handy. I'm going to scoot myself a little bit closer toward the back of the mat. And from here, with your hands on your blocks, your knees hips wide apart, blocks directly under the shoulders. Inhale, send the right foot back, tuck the toes under, and then press through the heel. Press strongly through your heel so that the leg gets very straight, firming the front of the thigh to help the hamstring get long. Keep that same action, that same effort in the front of the right leg as you float the leg off the floor toward the ceiling. Now, if your toe starts to turn out and your hip starts to open, just kind of check yourself here and see that the hips stay square and the toes stay facing the ground. Exhale, point the toes and draw your knee toward your chin. Inhale, send the heel back. Exhale, knee toward chin. Inhale, send the leg back. Exhale, knee toward chin, and then step the foot through just beyond the blocks. Bring your blocks up to their higher height or their highest height. And then see that your ankle is directly under your knee. So not too far ahead of your knee, not too far behind, directly stacked here. And then see what it's like to just let yourself hang into your flexibility. And then instead of that, what happens now if you energetically draw your knees toward each other, squaring the hips and engaging some of the muscles in your core and around your pelvis? Keep that action. Another way to think of it is to draw the right hip back and send the left hip forward, or pulling your front heel toward your back knee. Float the arms forward if you'd like. Exhale, plug the shoulders back. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, cactus arms if you choose. Inhale, reaching up again. Exhale, hands to the blocks. Inhale here. Exhale, send that right foot back all the way, pressing through the heel again. Inhale here. And then exhale, return the knee to the earth. Take a moment and just observe and absorb. Inhale. Exhale here. Inhale, tuck the left toes back and press through the back heel. See how strongly you can press through the heel and firm the front of the left thigh. Keep that action, keep that nice squareness of the pelvis as you float the foot off of the floor. Maybe even spreading the toes. Enjoy this action in the body for a moment. And then on your exhale, point the toes and draw your knee toward your nose. Inhale, sending the leg back. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, leg goes back. Exhale, knee to nose. Pause here. Inhale, and then exhale, step this foot through. Hang for just a moment into your flexibility, wherever that is for you today. And then instead, find some engagement, some action by pulling your left heel toward your right knee, or drawing the outer left heel back. What happens if you press your back shin into the floor? How does that change the action of the posture? And then inhale, float the arms forward. Exhale, plug the shoulders back. And inhale, the arms up and overhead. Maybe playing with cactus arms. Maybe doing a little dynamic movement. Noticing what feels healthy and balanced for you today. Returning the hands to the blocks. Exhale. Inhale here. Sending the left foot straight back, pressing out through the heel. Inhale, knee to the floor. And find any form of a resting position that feels nourishing for you. So maybe Bhaktasana, maybe Balasana, maybe trying the version of Balasana where you send the hands back between the knees and rest the head on the floor. Feel your heartbeat. Notice the rhythm of your breath. And see if you can elongate the exhale so that it's longer and slower and smoother than the inhale. When you're ready, we'll come back to hands and knees once more. Take the blocks to their middle height. Inhale the right leg back. Exhale, send it through. From here, you might want to come onto the higher height or just onto fingertips. Send the right hip back. Inhale, open your chest, your heart, and then exhale, send the hips back. Ardha Hanumanasana will inhale forward and exhale back. So it might be fun to just send the hands forward and back with you, or keeping the hands planted on the block or the floor. And see what happens if you're super mindful about keeping the hips square. And see what happens if you just let the hips kind of go where they want, where the hips want to go in this posture, in this series of movements. And what feels most nourishing? What happens if you keep your front toes on the floor? Or what happens if you let your toes come all the way back toward your body? And just exploring this, all the different ways you can experience Ardha Hanumanasana. The next time you come forward, plant your left hand and reach your right arm up and toward the sky, or maybe back toward your back foot. Can you create more space between your shoulders, reaching through your back hand, spreading the clavicles, the shoulder blades? And then exhale, hands to the blocks. Send your right foot back, press through your heel, and then inhale, foot to the floor. Same thing, the opposite side. So left leg lifts, comes through, and you might come on to a higher height and explore movements into and out of Ardha Hanumanasana. What happens if you keep your hips really, really square. What movements do the hips want to make? See what happens if you keep your toes planted on the ground versus if you let the toes lift up off of the floor. Maybe the hands come back and forward with you, or you keep them in one position on your blocks or on the earth. Maybe your body's calling for a static hold where you breathe into one variation of the posture. Or maybe movement is serving you. We'll return back to the Anjaneyasana version here. Plant the right hand on the floor or on the block, and inhale the left arm up and overhead, or reach back towards your foot. And just exploring this twist. Maybe supporting the neck if that feels good. Creating space between the shoulders. When you're ready, returning the hand to the block, stepping the foot back, extending the leg, and then returning the knee to the earth. If a resting pose is calling for you, you can find that at this time. Perhaps Adho Mukha Svanasana feels like it would be restful. So just explore into what you need in this moment. If it's a downward facing dog, send your hips up and back and see if within this posture you can create more space in your hip creases, sending your upper thighs back and creating more distance between your upper thighs and the front of your pelvis. Returning the knees to the earth and sitting back onto the heels. Taking just a moment here to center. Before we move into our next posture, which will be on our backs. You might want to keep this same orientation of the blanket for your head as a pillow, a nice flat pillow. And you'll want one of your blocks to be close by. Making your way onto your back as slowly as you like. Stepping your feet in to about bridge position. And we'll lift up into a supported bridge. So lifting the hips and taking the block on in this orientation under the pelvis so that the block is just above the gluteal cleft, meaning it's on the sacrum rather than your low back. So the very lowest triangular bone at the base of your spine, just above your tailbone. If the block's too high, it's usually a little less comfortable and it's hard on the low back. So we want it low enough that it's more under your pelvis than your backbones. And just take a moment here to breathe and to settle in and to kind of find your most comfortable way of being here. Walk the shoulders down and away from the ears. And you might decide you don't want this blanket as a pillow under your head, so this would be a good time to remove it if it's not serving you. On an exhale, draw your left knee into your chest and hold the back of your thigh or the front of your shin with your hands here. Inhale here, and then as you exhale, send your right leg long onto the floor so the heel is touching the floor. And the reason we have the left leg bent and drawing into the chest is to help avoid overarching the low back. So keep the knee in close to the body and then press out long through the right heel. Like we did when we were in the Anjaneyasana and lifting the back leg from tabletop, firm the front of your right thigh and press out through the heel. Get as long as you can through this right extended leg here. One more breath like this. And then on your exhale, just melt all of the tension, all of the effort out of this right extended leg and just allow your leg to hang here, to rest, to soften. And this is a really beautiful hip flexor stretch. So you can imagine breathing into the front of your right hip, your psoas muscle, your quad muscles, almost inflating them on your inhale, and then exhale just like a deflating or a melting, a softening, letting go. It's a great way to neutralize a lot of the sitting that we do in our daily life. If there's any tenderness in the low back, be sure to draw that left knee in a little closer. From here, you might choose to stay. This might just be feeling really nourishing for you, or you might want to explore. So if that's you, see what happens if you bring your right leg off of the mat out to the side and allow your left knee to travel left a bit to counterbalance that. Only staying if it feels nourishing. It might be time to come out for a pause, a neutralizing posture, drawing knees to chest, taking the block out. But if this is still serving you, you can stay and breathe and soften. You might even enjoy reaching one of your arms up and overhead. Imagine your breath traveling all the way down into your low belly, into your pelvis, into the base of your spine, maybe even traveling into the leg. And softening as you exhale. It might be fun to explore what it's like to bring this right leg across toward the left of the mat, just slightly. So not a big twist here, you're still up on the block, but what happens if you draw the foot to the left and the left knee across midline? Maybe the opposite arm wants to reach overhead. Returning back to center, first take the right foot to the floor, then exhale the left foot to the floor. And before you do much of anything, just be here and notice. Observe. Feel the difference between one side and the other. Feel what the body wants to do next. Perhaps what the body wants to do next is readjust on this block, the support. If you have wooden blocks like I do, you might want to put a little extra blanket over that to make it more comfortable for the sacrum. You might even want to come off of the block and give yourself a neutralizing pose for a moment before we transition to the other side. So when you're ready for the other side, exhale, draw your right knee into the chest this time, catching the shin or the thigh with the hands. Exhale, send the left leg strong and long out away from the body. Press out through the heel. Be sure that the right knee is close enough into the chest to avoid overarching the low back, which tends to happen here. So keep the knee close to the chest. And breathe and enjoy. First, this active version, engaging the front of the thigh muscles. Pressing out through the heel, drawing the toes toward your knees. And on your next exhale, soften all of that. Let it all go. And just enjoy melting over the support of the block here. You might enjoy that visual of inflating the hip flexors like a balloon as you inhale. And then as you exhale, the balloon deflating and softening, melting over the block here. Sending your awareness, your breath, to the front of that left hip. And enjoying this release. Maybe you'd like to slide the foot over to the side, off of your mat, and counterbalance that with the right knee coming out to the right. Staying there as long as it feels nourishing. Exploring other movements, maybe with the head or the shoulder, the arm reaching overhead. Maybe you'd like to explore the opposite movement, drawing the left leg toward the right of the mat, the right knee across just slightly, not too far so that you come off of the block, but keeping the sacrum grounded. And then perhaps the right arm wants to reach overhead. How soft can the neck be? Returning to center. There's one other way to play here, and that's sending the front ribs toward the back ribs and getting as much as your spine in contact with the floor as possible. And just notice what that does to the sensation in the front of the left thigh, hip flexor. And stepping one foot at a time back to the earth. Be here in stillness just for a moment to observe. And I invite you to press into the heels and peel your tailbone, your sacrum off of the block, removing the block to the side, and then slowly lowering down, bone by bone if you can, so your tail touches down last. Drawing the knees in toward the chest. And giving yourself a loving squeeze here, or rocking from side to side. Maybe reaching between the knees with the hands for the big toes, the two-fingered grip around the big toes, or catching the outsides of your feet with your hands, and then sending the feet toward the sky, Ananda Balasana, blissful baby. Some people really enjoy rocking from side to side in this position. Some people like extending one leg at a time and just exploring sensation in the hips and the backs of the legs. And returning the feet to the floor when you feel ready to, and take a moment to just check in with the body, observe and absorb. And see if you can ask yourself, what else do I need in this moment for balance, harmony in my physical body, in the breath body? And I invite you to find whatever movements those may be as you make your way into Shavasana. So take the next 6 or 10 breaths or so, exploring movement on your way into our final relaxation pose, Shavasana. But really take your time. If there's something that your body needs, if there's a repositioning, if you need another blanket for Shavasana, if you'd like some support under the knees or a blanket over the body. If there's a few more postures you'd like to explore before sinking in to the corpse pose. This pose of integration, of absorption, of really practicing this art of maintaining conscious awareness while going very, very deep into a state of surrender. So walking, once you're in this corpse pose, Shavasana, walking the shoulders down and away from the ears. Walking the back of the neck long so that the chin and forehead are about level. Unhinge the jaw, maybe open the mouth wide for a little gentle release here. And soften the forehead. Imagine the wrinkles just softening and melting off of the face. Allow the brain to sink toward the back of the skull. And feel the eyeballs releasing with gravity toward the backs of their sockets. And feel the skin of the throat soften and relax, and maybe swallow once and to help release and let go the muscles deeper in the throat, the neck. Feel the collarbone spread, the shoulders sink into the support of the earth. And just feel how, without any effort, your heart blossoms open like a flower here. As you allow the breath to come and go. No control of the breath. Because here in Shavasana we surrender all muscular holding. And we surrender even our control of the breath. Allowing that innate intelligence, prana, to breathe us. Soften the contents of your abdomen, the viscera, the organs. Allow them to relax. Release any gripping deep in the ribs, in the belly, in the pelvis. Surrender the holding in the thighs, the calves. Truly allowing yourself to be held. The feet, the ankles soften and receive rest here. And this gift of deep surrender, this ability to let go of control, of gripping of the breath. This is a very refined practice, so allow yourself here to receive and surrender. You're very welcome to stay here for as long as it serves you today. When you're ready to transition, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Move your ankles and your wrists. And rock your head gently, gently from side to side. Maintaining this connection with this deep inner peace that you've cultivated through practice today. There's no rush. And with as little muscular effort as is needed, step one foot at a time to your blanket or the floor. Perhaps drawing your knees into your chest for a squeeze, or rocking them side to side, or rolling the knees in circles to massage your back. And in your own time, rolling over to one side, cradling your head in your arm or your blanket, and just absorbing here, allowing the body this time, breathing into the space of the heart and feeling into the heart space for a sense of gratitude, reflecting back to you for the time you took to cultivate your connection with yourself in this practice. And as you're ready, use the strength of your arms to press your body slowly into an upright position. Bringing your hands to the heart center. Thumbs pressing into your sternum, sternum lifting into thumbs. And just reconnect with the intention that you set at the start of practice today. Reconnect with a sense of gratitude toward this practice of yoga, toward the teachings. And I thank you for sharing practice with me. The highest potential in me bows to honor the highest potential in you. Namaste.